Alright. We are live and we are out here. My name is Private Purr, and to those watching live and those watching later, thank you so much for joining me as we look towards an evening of casting. In just a bit, I have a wonderful match coming up for you tonight between the Polish veterans and the Eastern group. And I shall be alone tonight. I am on a 15-minute delay, so unfortunately I won't be able to interact with you that much. So any chat messages I will try to answer after the match. But thank you so much. I am back. It's been a while, actually, since I've done a stream. So I might be a little bit rusty here and there. Please bear with me as we continue on the streaming adventure, as like I said, we have a wonderful match coming up. It is a friendly match, as I mentioned, a 49 versus 49 friendly match between the Polish veterans and the Eastern group, and they're going to be playing on Sainte du Mont, the classic, if you will. Yeah, nobody joining me in the booth tonight. Last match I streamed was, I think, quite a while back, and I did that on my own. I remember it was a match between the then Legion X and one CDO, and it was quite the adventure for me to keep talking and stay interesting for almost 90 minutes straight. So I'm going to try to repeat that magic tonight. Can't wait to get the smooth, buttery voice working again. Making sure I'm bringing you an entertaining match tonight. Now, I am still waiting for the password and therefore access to the actual server. So we're just going to be waiting for that for a little bit. I think the start time is still set for 19:30, but that would be 19:45 for you guys since I'm on a 15-minute delay. Yeah, which gives us ample time to introduce the teams to you. So let's start off with the first team tonight. The Polish veterans, they are going to be playing the Axes. Polish veterans, yeah, it's a coalition of Polish clans that currently has been in existence for about 1.5 years. It is a coalition between 4 Polish clans, which is ECL, NZN, PZJR, and Wataha. I think I pronounced that right. 4 clans who have, had a bit of struggles amongst each other in the past, but have actually, created an alliance as they have to create a really strong sort of national Polish clan for Polish-speaking people as well. I believe they do have some international players in there, but the majority of the Polish veterans is definitely Polish-speaking at the very least. Now, I did have the honor of casting for HLLPL before, which was about 10 months ago. They had a friendly match versus the then Legion X. They were supported by the 106 and VLK, but they did manage to push for a 5-0 victory that day. Yeah, they are in it to win it. This is actually the first time they meet the Eastern group. Even in friendly and competitive ways, so they are really trying to sort of test their strength against a firmly established team. Which brings us to the second team of the night, which is the Eastern group. It has actually been an established team since 2022. They did also initially start as an alliance, but have since evolved into a very stable clan on the Russian side of things. They do open their doors for international players, but they are 100% Russian speaking. So I believe they do have several members from different countries, but all of them are defined by speaking Russian. Now, they are a little more established, and I would say definitely the Goliath, the favorite in this match. I mean, where to start with their achievements? They have been guests of the ECL, the European Community League, for lots of seasons already. They've placed reasonably high, many performances in the spring seasonal, and they even bit off the 18v18 tournament, which netted them a 5th place. Yeah, they're just going strong and continuing the journey. They're going to be competing in the upcoming season of the HCA, the Hell Let Loose Competitive Association, as well. And all their information is currently on the screen. So, you know, if you are a Russian speaker and you are looking for a friendly community, you know, make sure to look them up. And the same goes, I guess, for Polish-speaking people. Even though you will have to join one of the original clans of the Polish Veteran Coalition, through there you will also be able to participate in any matches that the Polish veterans partake in. Great, now we are looking at this match, and like I said, I think from a statistical point of view, the Eastern Group is definitely the favorite in this one. The Polish veterans have themselves acknowledged as much, that they are definitely in for a tough battle tonight. But we'll see. Again, these two teams haven't met. This is both their debut versus each other. And it's always good to see the Polish and the Russians get along this way, which is great. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what the veterans are going to come up with, and whether or not the experience and the strategies of the Eastern Group is going to prevail, or whether or not the Polish veterans are actually able to pull a rabbit out of their hat and be able to make it a real difficult battle for the Eastern Group. The battle of which we speak is going to take place on Sainte du Mont, a classic match, one of the oldest maps in the game. It is going to be the Axis versus the Allies being the US. And if we take a closer look at the map, we can see that Sainte du Mont, despite actually the name suggesting there to be a lot of urban terrain, you can see that actually it's quite an open map. It's a favorite of many, actually, because it does have a lot of sort of, you know, different kinds of areas to play in, depending on the points you're going to be getting. But the only real big urban area upon this map is the actual town or village of Sainte du Mont, which you can spot on the right on the 7 and 8 line. A crowd pleaser. Obviously, it's always great to see an urban battle with all the nooks and crannies that urban terrain has to offer. So me personally, definitely hoping that Sainte du Mont is going to be in the rotation for this match tonight. But otherwise, it's a lot of, you know, different points. If you look at the 5-6 line, the middle line, you've got the dugout, the AA network, and Pierre's farm. All of them interesting points in their own right, but definitely very, very open. I remember Pierre's farm, having played there a lot on the 18v18 tournament, which is to the right on the 5-6 line. It's a difficult point to crack. Very like small little sheds that you fight over within the hard point. Lots of open ground, you know, surrounding the terrain there, and that would be an interesting point to see for sure. But AA Network, definitely an interesting contender as well, since there's lots of trenches, lots of, yeah, almost First World War kind of warfare within those trenches, and yeah, it looks good. Cattle sheds on the 3 and 4 line, the middle point there. Again, pretty much like Pierre's farm, very, very contained, although Cattle Sheds does have those large sheds that you usually get to fight over. And we have seen some teams, including, I believe, HLL, PL, pulling off some nasty recon tank plays there, which was actually a case in the match that I streamed for them, I remember. And then to the left, Bakur Battery on the 3-4 line. Again, trench warfare. Yeah, just a lot of interesting points that you can fight over. So the map is definitely not going to disappoint tonight, I am sure, and we will have to see once the game actually starts which points will be in the rotation. But definitely keep your eye out for Sainte du Mont, as it is, in my personal opinion, one of the best points on this map, since it has so much urban terrain to it. Good. Well, I am still currently waiting for the, you know, files and passwords to actually get myself into the game, and I see that I have now gotten that. So I will take a moment to actually get into the server to see what is going on there. Like I said, it's been a while since I've been streaming, which means it has been a while since I've actually used admin cam, so again, bear with me. I'm just going to have to figure it out as I go along. Right. So, I will be joining the side of the Polish veterans tonight, which I believe will be playing on the Axis side of things. So I will be joining them. Just gonna quickly look for my squad. Just give me a second. Make sure that also my audio settings are in order, etc. So yeah, just bear with me for a second as I join the game and just get my bearings again. There's already lots of things going on. I can see already flamethrowers being pulled up in the air. Obviously, I am joining the allies right now, and I will be joining into the game as the map is going to switch, which means that the Polish veterans will be on the Axis side and the Eastern Group will be on the Allies side. I don't think this map particularly favors either one of the two factions. But yeah, it's a free-for-all. Like I said, the Eastern Group does have the experience. They do have the numbers and the statistics in their favor. But the Polish veterans have actually been doing a lot of competitive stuff on their own ends. They did join, for instance, the ECL competition in April 2023. And they did have actually quite a good run in there. They were in the 4th division initially, I think, when they joined. And they beat pretty much every team within that division, except they run afoul of the BFTB, which stands for the Betrunkenen Fliesentischbesitzer, which is a German clan that they butted head with. And they definitely had to acknowledge their superiors versus them. But then they did continue on to the 3rd division on the next ECL split, where they once again butted heads with the BFTB, and once again they found themselves losing to this team, except they did do a lot better than in the initial scrimmages they had. Definitely improving a lot since then, and they are currently now looking to possibly be promoted towards the 2nd division coming the next ECL split. Now, I'm not sure if Eastern Group is actually going to be participating in the ECL again. Like I said, I know they're going to definitely be competing in the HCA in their next split, but I'm not sure what their ECL goals and ambitions are right now. So we don't know if these two teams are going to be seeing each other into a competitive scene, but they have invited each other to do a friendly match, to just bout a bit and to see, you know, how far they can get. For the Polish veterans, it's a test of strength, and for the Eastern Group, it might just be a nice little warm-up for the HCA. Who knows? Well, it looks like my cam is definitely working, and I'm slowly getting the gist of it again. Should be good to go as we await these teams for the map flip and the start of the official match, which gives me a little bit of time to actually see if my stream is working and live. As far as I can see, I am currently live, and everything is working according to plan. Well, that is good news. Great. Well, what else is there to say? I mean, I've introduced the teams, I've introduced the format. I mean, there's nothing above 49s, right? I mean, I have participated myself in the 18v18 tournament, which I will admit is a great format. It has definitely grown, even though there have been some discussions on whether or not the grounded rule, or rather the discarding of the grounding rule, has actually improved the format. But it is nevertheless a great format to look in. But, you know, 49v49 is just the way this game is supposed to be played. And regardless of the fact that you can't really focus on individual plays as much as one would in 18v18s, it is just a magnificent sight to watch, you know, two teams of 50 players just being online in the same server at the same time, just juking it out on this huge map, trying to go for this victory. I mean, yeah, this is why I like it. I will admit I haven't played myself for quite some time, but I have. I guess it's fair to consider myself a bit of a veteran in the game, at least. You know, played for several clans in the past and had representation there. Yeah, it's magnificent. Both to look at it from the perspective that you guys will be looking at this match from the top view, really see like the different strategies and teams, and you know, being able to see what the teams themselves cannot see and really see where the gaps are opening, where teams should push, where teams shouldn't push. Really get sort of like that rabbit hole view of the surrounding area. But also when you're playing the game itself, it's just being in that action, trying to get like a sense of where your enemy is at, trying to communicate with your team, to make the plays and to get those points and really get into the action of things. Right, anyway, enough of me trying to sell this game to you. But yeah, it's just competitive, organized play is definitely the way this game should have been played. There can be plenty of good experiences to be had within the public sphere of Hell Let Loose. I'm not even gonna lie, but you know, finding yourself into a organized competitive event with all its organizational struggles that sometimes go along with it it's unbeatable in my opinion. Right. So we are still waiting for this match to start. I'm just gonna quickly check whether or not I can get some intel on whether or not the match is going to start. Yeah. I will say it is always the starting off part is always the hardest when you're on your own, when you don't have somebody to sort of discuss some analytics with or discuss some strategies with, and just keeping yourself talking while nothing much is going on per se. So again, it's been a while for me. Bear with me. I'm not trying to make too many excuses for myself, but yeah, I'm definitely I had a little bit of the nerves before I started getting into this. Which by now have settled down a little bit. But yeah, just looking forward to it. Being back in the casting chair and watching these two terrific teams go head to head with each other. Always forget to hydrate, so I'm gonna do that right now. As of right now, I can already see 6 viewers currently in this little stream of mine, probably anxiously awaiting the start of this match as I am. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. I really appreciate it, and I hope both these two teams and me get to entertain you tonight. Yeah, 90 minutes on the clock. 2 teams and a potential of 90 minutes of interesting gameplay for you all. And just to repeat what I've said earlier, I am on a 15-minute delay, as by request of the 2 teams, to make sure there's no stream sniping or any of that stuff. And it's actually, I forgot to mention that the 2 teams are playing by ECL rulings, which means that there is only 1 man allowed on artillery, which is unkillable. So it is very much not allowed to kill the other person's artillery man. But then again, there's also only 1 man on the artillery that is supposedly staying on that 1 gun, being able to barrage the enemy team. There's going to be no Panther tanks on the German side allowed, and resource nodes can be placed anywhere, but they are not allowed to be destroyed. Now, the map is currently being changed. We've got 5 more seconds before the map change actually occurs. And we are going to dive right into this match. Sainte de Mont, the Polish veterans on the Axis side and the Eastern group on the Allies side. We are going to jump right in as I look for the squad that I am supposed to join. As everything is, oh my lord, everything is going haywire already. I am supposed to join a particular man. There he is. I'm going to join this squad. And I'm going to set myself up properly. Yeah, that's the only unfortunate thing, that you can't really immediately jump into admin can. You have to jump through a few hoops to actually get there. Just gonna make my way out of all the noise and all the things going on right here. So I'm just gonna lie into a little corner that not much is happening. Secretly in the bushes. And I'm going to jump straight into the action. Alright. Now, it's a good moment to actually check out the map as it is. As I'm flying through the zone, we can see that Sainte de Mont is actually the point that we've been hoping for. As I really quickly go to the middle. The middle point is definitely going to be Pierre's farm. I have discussed this before in the 18s format. That is actually a pretty troublesome point to fight over, since as you can see it has like these huge open fields surrounding it, and just these 2-3 little buildings that you can get a decent amount of cover behind. But it is going to be the middle point that we will be fighting over. And as we check the map real quick, we can see Pierre's farm is the middle point. We have got cattle sheds, the one that I've discussed earlier as well, which is pretty similar to Pierre's farm, aside from 2 major sheds that the teams will be fighting over. We do have Sainte de Mont as the 7-8 line point, which is connected directly to the fields in the 9-10 line for the Polish veterans. And all the way back there on the 1-2 line, we've got Winter's Landing for the Eastern group. Now, of course, I do hope we're going to have an interesting fight, but personally, I do also hope that we're going to be seeing some fighting over Sainte de Mont. Because, again, it's just such a beautiful point to be fighting over, with a church in the middle and all the surrounding urban area. It's a great point. But that might be some future music. Currently, we are going to be focusing on Pierre's farm, as the match warm-up is about to end with just 10 seconds going down. As we are going to be following the Polish veterans into the point, as they are going to ride up on it. The clock is starting. The warm-up phase is over. And the Polish veterans are deploying towards Pierre's farm. Taking a little bit of an interesting route there. All the way down to the eastern side of the point. As we can see some more deployment coming up. On the western side of the map, you can see in the distance a lot of tanks just driving over there. As the first supplies are already dropping for the Polish veterans, it does seem like they're not taking the most direct route towards Pierre's farm currently, which is an interesting strategy. You can already see the first, perhaps, rockets landing. As you can see, EG, Eastern Group, is already running up to the Pierre's farm as well. They have decided to go for the straight strategy and just drive in straight with a few tanks and a few trucks into that point. As you can see, EG is already landing. You can see the squad leader, Highwis, coming down. Smoker squad leader is there. You can see another squad leader, Baumux. I'm sorry if I'm going to be slaughtering some names during this match, but you can see 3 squad leaders already landing down in Pierre's farm as the point is currently ticking towards the Eastern Group. As the first rockets and... oh, snipes are coming in. Oh, that was a person truck from the Polish veterans that still had some people in it that just got blown up. You saw the corpses flying around. EG currently in control, seemingly, of Pierre's farm, as they are taking control of the initial urban areas and the hedge lines leading up to it. The Polish veterans, meanwhile, are holding up in that little ruined building up in the far back. They do have some presence there. We can see Presidento and Noah, the squad leaders of the Polish veterans, currently being set up there. I'm not sure how much OPs they've gotten down, but that initial rocket on that personnel truck could be quite devastating for them. As you can see further up west, you can see Capital being shot down, actually. I'm not sure if he actually got a OP down. As you can see, tank fire from both sides actually landing into the point. There's a few tanks in the back line from Polish veterans. Ooh, but one of them just got blown up. The streamer's curse is already in full effect. As I mentioned, people, they die. But there's still tank fire coming up into the scene. Some MG fire going down into the point, but the Eastern Group is not to be stopped right now. They still have firm control over Pierre's farm, and in just a few seconds it is going to tick into their position. You see another tank corpse right in front of us. I don't think that's a natural spawn. I think that is another Polish veteran tank that got destroyed earlier. As we can see, EG taking a slow but firm grasp over Pierre's farm, which has now actually gone into their favor. As the two tanks are currently still giving a lot of cover to the infantry that is trying to hold down the fort there. Which means that the two currently connecting points are in fact Pierre's farm that is up for grabs for the Polish veterans. But we are also going to be looking further ahead into Sainte Marie du Mont as we see a Eastern tank being blown up. Actually, that was not a tank, that was another personnel truck that I assume was abandoned long time ago. Artillery is striking down, and you can see the Eastern Group is quite quick to abandon their posts in the hard point of Pierre's farm. I'm not sure if that's a correct decision there. I mean, they do have some tank presence still, and it looks like there's still smoker squads still spawning in there from their OP. They have been quick to abandon the point in favor of pushing forward. As you can see on the eastern side, there's already a huge cluster of Eastern Group infantry trying to push further down to Sainte Marie du Mont, as the Polish veterans are trying to establish at least some sort of foothold in front of that point so they can advance sooner or later. But as we can see in this little hedgeway, the Polish veterans are struggling to actually get that foothold, as they are being pressured heavily by the squads that are pushing up. You can see Topaz, Zahn, K-Pap, I think I'm butchering that right, and two Eastern tanks actually rolling up into that hatchway, definitely acknowledging the fact that there is a Polish tank that is currently holding firm there, but the tank is being surrounded. You can see Polish veterans are spawning in from an OP currently there. LJT squad is trying to back up this tank, but the tank must realize that they are in a bit of trouble. They must hear the rumbling of the other tanks there. You can see the tank is backing up, possibly sensing the danger they are in. They are showing their back, or at least their side, as they are turning around. This is a very, very, very dangerous area. The two tanks are going to be spotting each other. The Polish veterans will have the upper hand as the Eastern Group tank is showing its back, but it is unable to actually drive through the bushes, which means the Eastern Group tank is slowly driving off. Tank is still alive though. It's turning around again, trying to get something going there, but it is being hit in the back by Pashano. Beautiful rocket. Another hit in the back from another anti-tanker as another allied truck is driving up to this tank. This tank is in a huge amount of trouble. And it is crazy to see how both teams are sort of pushing their advantages. Another tank gets blown up. It is the allied tank from the Eastern Group that gets blown up by a rocket of Kojo Tech, I believe. As this fighting goes on, another tank, the heavily damaged Polish tank, is now currently fighting a fresh tank from the Eastern Group that is currently going down this field. They are right in front of each other, yes, and the allied tank will emerge victorious, as the Polish tank was already heavily damaged. And another infantry member gets blown up from the Polish veterans. As we take a broader look on that battlefield, it does look like the Polish veterans do have a very, very strong foothold in Sainte Marie du Mont itself. We do see Smoker trying to push up a little bit as a solo squad leader there, trying to maybe get his squad down there. We can see another tank standing in that bushes, another allied tank trying to give some cover to the advancing infantry up front. But you can see that the Polish have definitely established a foothold in their second point, and you can see that they are definitely putting on the pressure on the middle point, which is Pierre's farm. They are not willing to let this go by any chance, and the fighting is definitely surrounding Pierre's farm right now. So despite the Eastern group having sort of like the initiative initially, which I believe was caused by the Eastern group being brave enough to actually drive straight into Pierre's farm, where I believe the Polish chose a more safe flanking sort of route towards Pierre's farm, which has cost them. We did see that personnel truck being blown up initially, which still had a bunch of infantry members in it, which may have cost them the initial push on that point, allowing Eastern group to actually be able to take that point firmly into their hands. But as you can see, a front line is definitely forming. The Polish are holding those hedge lines and those buildings leading into Sainte-Marie-de-Mont, which, despite the heavy fighting on the eastern side of things, they haven't necessarily been able to push through. And this is definitely where you can also see the experience of the Polish shine through, as they are just currently holding their lines and possibly mounting up for an organized offense on Pierre's farm, as we reach what I would say the first real stalemate of this match, where both teams are sort of just feeling each other out after that initial skirmish, trying to get something done. We do see in the right of your screen, and I kind of have to remember how I'm zooming in, so forgive me if I just bring up the hub real quick. Zooming Q and E, you got it. Alright, if we can see a DO6 there as the single AT guy that has managed to... Okay, Streamer's Curse is definitely a thing. I should definitely stop butchering names, but just mentioning them at all, since they are most likely to die. I was about to say, yeah, the Eastern group had this lonely AT in the enemy lines, but aside from that, we don't really see any activity from either teams in the enemy lines. So yeah, definitely currently a stalemate right now, as both of the teams are trying to set a foothold in what they've got, and we are just going to be waiting on whether or not the Polish veterans are going to mount an offense, trying to take back that crucial middle point, or whether or not the Eastern group is going to be mounting a bigger offense, trying their luck to also take Sainte-Marie-du-Mont. Again, the interesting part about Sainte-Marie-du-Mont, especially in comparison to all the other points, is the fact that it is such a different way of fighting, right? It's night and day. Once you cross that threshold from Pierre's farm to Sainte-Marie-de-Mont, it's closer combat. You need a lot more men to actually defend all the nooks and crannies from the Polish perspective, and you need way less infantry or less presence to actually make an impact and be able to get those OPs down. Because it's just hard, you know, to make sure that all the nooks and crannies are defended, and none of the enemy is actually coming through. So technically speaking, it would be easier for the Eastern group to actually make a dent within the confines of Sainte-Marie-de-Mont, but then to actually translate that into a bigger offense and actually be able to kick the Polish out and be able to take care of that hard point, that is going to be a whole different story. Whereas the Polish are just looking to cross essentially this fields leading up to Pierre's farm, which is a very hard thing to do because there's just so many angles that you can get shot from. The only realistic way of getting into Pierre's farm is either by one of those roads and hedges leading up to the point. But once you get there, it's actually relatively easy to overwhelm the defenders, contrary to something like Sainte-Marie-de-Mont, because in this case for EG, it's also very hard to find places to hide. and to really concentrate your men to defend the hard point. So yeah, I would say in summary, I would say it's harder for the Polish to make the crossing towards Pierre's farm right now, but once they do, it's actually easier for them to put significant pressure on that hard point. Whereas for the Eastern Group right now, it is actually easier to cross the road and get sort of like a foothold within Sainte-Marie-de-Mont, but to actually translate that into a point capturing maneuver is harder for them. So definitely we are looking at different sort of strategies that have to come into play as this match continues, as we are still looking at what is seemingly a sort of like a standoff, a standstill, as both teams seem to be rather happy right now with what they've got, as we do see Maurice Sato, the squad leader, trying to make a little bit of a push into Sainte-Marie-de-Mont, being guided by a bombing run, which I assume is from the their side, the Allied side, as Maurice Sato does make landfall within one of the urban areas, but the area is defended currently by Jaski and Wojtek's squad. They are currently trying to make a bit of a foothold. I'm not sure if Maurice Sato is able to get an OP down there. If he does, it's going to be glowing instantly. It's just 3 men against 4. Kachi actually spots the squad leader, takes him down. It's now 4 against 2. Lol trying to make a push, but gets eliminated as well, together with his teammate. It was a nice little attempt, even though they were a little bit, assisted by that tank, who is on fire, by the way. But they haven't really been able to capture that little urban area, as Wojtek is actually close to that tank. The tank, thinking better of it, trying to retreat a little bit, does spot Wojtek. Doesn't seem like there's any satchel carriers or anti-tank people in close by to that tank right now, which gives him a lot of space to just slowly retreat back to the safety of their lines. But yeah, this was a good attempt, I would say, from the Eastern Group. Trying, again, to have a few individuals trying to make landfall in the urban regions of Sainte-Marie-de-Mont. I think this is definitely the way to go for the Eastern Group right now, trying to make a dent there. Maurice Sato, he's there again, bringing the rest of his squad. We can now see Kugu as well. Streamer's freaking curse. They all get blown to pieces by a well-placed artillery strike and possibly some tank assistance there. Looks like the Polish veterans are definitely getting wiser to the strategy that the Eastern Group is currently trying. And they too have that barrier of actually crossing those open fields before they're actually able to get there. Maurice Sato, though, as you can see in the middle of your screen, does have that OP currently placed behind that wreckage of a tank, which gives him quick access to that little bush area there, allowing him to keep trying to make landfall. But as a response, the Polish veterans are now trying to make way through that little hedge line, trying to send 2 of their men forward. One of them goes down, though. As we can see to the right of your screen, some rockets actually hitting that tank. It is retreating, but currently not far enough, since it is still in open field, in range. Roger, sending another rocket that way. Koyotak actually blowing up that tank, which could be a significant game changer in terms of protection that Eastern Group now had over that field. Flares are coming out from the Eastern Group, trying to cover that field, making sure that the Polish are not pushing their luck on that open field. I mean, crossing an open field is usually considered suicide by any account, but this might give the Polish a little bit of window to actually send some people out. But again, it looks like they're currently happy to just hold what they've got and send every once in a while, send a few people down that middle hedge line that you can now see. I mean, it is a hard bargain for both teams. There's essentially only really 2 pathways leading up from Sainte-Marie-de-Mont into Pierre's farm and vice versa. Although we look towards the west of the battlefield right now, and we do see EG actually making some strides here. It looks like they are choosing to actually make a bit of a bigger flank here, maybe realizing that fighting over those 2 small pathways from one point to another isn't really going to work for them. Choosing to invest the time to actually make a bigger flank around. We can see a lot of recon squads. We can see a Capital squad, Macbeth squad, all trying to make a dent there. I'm not sure how aware the Polish are that they are slowly being surrounded, aside from perhaps Gallicon's squad up in the far west there, who is still sort of breaking the line, but the Eastern group is definitely trying to make a wrench between the Polish defenses here. And they are taking their sweet time, or so it seems. Just trying to secure little areas one by one. I'm assuming Capital there has set up in that little urban area in the middle of your screen. Perhaps Macbeth has already struggled up, as Baumix and Macbeth are moving closer into that hedge line. This could actually spell disaster for the Polish, because if you look at this, there is a huge gap in between their front line and their actual hardpoint defenses of Sainte-Marie-du-Mont. If the Eastern group plays this right, they can actually march right through those hedge lines into the point, which could spell disaster for the Polish. Slowly but surely, the Eastern group is progressing, but they are being stopped by Karl's squad there. Baumix goes down, as were the rest of his squad. Karl does go down, but I just saw he has his OP in the middle of the field there. It looks like Pasparoy might be closing in on a little bit of OP time there. Perhaps not, as Macbeth is coming from the left of your screen, which means his OP is a lot further than maybe we anticipated. The fighting is all about this trench system right now. Kurt, Macbeth, Corvette still trying to make their way forward, as Paparosteroy is behind their enemy lines now. This is an entanglement of different intricacies now. Paparosteroy takes down one, but is taken down in the process, as Baumix and Macbeth are slowly closing in on that OP. They must realize there is somewhat of a Polish spawn going on over there. Yeah, these are the cornfields. These are hard to navigate through. It's hard to really understand or realize where people are coming from. But now a new spawn wave on that OP. It looks like the Easterlings have definitely figured out where it is, I'm sorry about the names. Proposal does he pass the OP or did he take it down? I'm pretty sure he did take it down right now. Which means that perhaps one of the few defending squads of the Polish veterans in terms of Sainte-Marie-du-Mont's western side is now taken down. Does that actually mean that the Eastern group has some room to push forward now on this flank? It's still just individuals slowly creeping forward as we see further in the back. Hantai Lonely, I would say, and Capital squads are still holding that western flank pretty properly, but they don't seem to be rushing forward that much. They're just happy holding that far west flank right now, perhaps, you know, as an attempt to keep a bit of a settlement there, to be able to support Macbeth, who is still violently pushing that little hedge line. That seems to be going into a stalemate, as the Polish are actually getting the smarter of them, holding that little trench system. As we perhaps take a look at the front line again, it has definitely changed. As you can see, the landscape has changed quite a bit. EG actually pushing forward quite a bit. And what I have discussed earlier, that, you know, all they need is one or two squads to actually make grounds into that urban area. And it looks like Morisato's squad has actually been able to do so. I'm not sure. I can see some spawn waves coming in, but it looks like it's still from an OP. Haven't really seen any supplies coming down, so I'm not sure how strong the presence is. We can see Kugo there, the squad leader, being there as well, which means they have at least two squads that have made landfall on the outskirts of Sainte-Marie-du-Mont, which is a huge thing for the Eastern group, because they can now actually create sort of like a forward base for themselves, out of which they can actually start the assault on Sainte-Marie-du-Mont. But it looks like the Polish once again are smart enough to realize where the threats are coming from currently. Because you can see a few people shifting from the Polish to actually try and intercept this problem. To the left of your screen, you can see Knight Rider, Raf, Jayski, Roger, and Pascal actually slowly moving in from the cemetery to the urban area, where you see the EG boys holding up camp currently. It's unfortunate we really didn't get to see how they managed to get to this urban area, as we can see some tank support, as we've seen earlier, from EG trying to help their infantry out. Ooh, but a rocket was taken into the tank, now riding himself stuck on what seems to be something like a trench. Bloody Johnny jumping out, trying to save the tank there, but it is still moving. Ooh, it looks like Bloody Johnny actually got ridden over by his own little tank there. Engineer is at the case. Is he carrying satchels or something? He does receive some blood spatters, but yes, he does go down, probably supported by the infantry that still holds up in that urban area, as the tank is now free to drive away to safety somewhat, to the safety cover of his infantry. Artillery, from what I assume to be the Polish, has zeroed down on this little urban area. You can see spawn waves from the Eastern Group still coming in. Ligos goes down. I mean, I'm assuming there's still 2 squads in this little urban area, but the Polish seem to have intercepted the biggest brunt of this, as the tank does go down to a rocket either far away from a tank somewhere, but it does go down. Morisato, though, trying to take his chances on the open field, which goes about as well as you would expect, as he's intercepted by Noah. No OP going down for him there, unless he's put an OP down further down the hedge lines. And as you can see, further up east, more EG infantry has actually made their way up towards the cemetery area. I mean, this is where you can see the experience of a team like Eastern Group coming into play. They definitely know what they're doing, as they are slowly but surely setting steps into Sainte-Marie-du-Mont's area, knowing they have that little urban area there under control. It means it leaves the room open to push up this headline, get another sort of forward base down, in this case within the cemetery. And it looks like this battle might slowly be shifting towards Eastern Group's favor, as I'm going to take a quick look further down to see if the Polish have any sort of presence in the flanks of Pierre's farm. Doesn't look like it. It looks like it's just one EG squad currently holding down, or maybe even just one MG currently holding down the hard point of Pierre's farm. It looks like the Polish are definitely being surrounded on all sides, as we can see in the western side. Where we left them off, Baums is still pushing valiantly through that hedge line. I mean, they're currently not really making much space, but at least they're keeping the Polish squads busy with 2 squads, as the rest of EG is trying to make this urban push work. And so far, it's slow, but it is effective. They have taken control of that urban area, as we've discussed before, but now they are currently also pushing into cemetery with a lot of force. You can see a spawn wave of LJT on the Polish side coming in. You can see a Polish tank actually holding down the walls of cemetery, which might bite EG in the ass at some point. The tank is pushing together with the Polish infantry, trying to make something happen. It should stay there, possibly, just to make sure that there is some cover there. Is that a Panther, by the way? Sorry, I'm still very poor at actually recognizing the different tanks, but I believe that could be a Panther. I'm not sure if that's allowed. Doesn't matter, though. It's driving up into dangerous territory. It looks like it's very close to Andrav's OP. It might actually have been taken down, which could take out the angle of the attack from EG by the route. Possibly PV being very, very aware of the threat that EG is starting to form in and around Sainte-Marie-du-Mont, and really feeling like they have to act somewhere. Smart call on the Polish side there, really bringing in that tank for cover. Yes, it does seem to have stopped the Easterlings' advance on cemetery, as it is now back into firm control of the Polish. But on that same note, the Polish do seem to have trouble with taking back that little urban area that EG has been in for almost 10 minutes now. Even though artillery has been striking down on it continuously, they haven't been able to take that urban area back, which continues to be a thorn in the side of the Polish, because that means they just have a weak spot within their defense of Sainte-Marie-du-Mont that they have to start taking care of if they want to make a push forward. Right now, the Polish are just focused on defense, or are rather forced to be focusing on defense, since they are being kept busy on 3 sides of their point, and they cannot lose Sainte-Marie-du-Mont. They have to realize they cannot lose Sainte-Marie-du-Mont against a team like EG. But it does prevent them from really mounting up something of an offense concerning Pierre's farm. There is just no pressure from any offensive squad from the Polish onto that EG point, which means EG might slowly get a little more cocky in terms of how much manpower they are willing to invest in the offense here. You know, a lot of it is mental warfare as well. As soon as you leave one of those points undefended, or rather unoffended from the Polish perspective, you know, EG is going to be like, you know what? We might as well just put one MG down here and just see how lucky we can get, right? In terms of the match, they have little or at least less to lose in terms of losing that Pierre's farm point. And as you can see, it is going into play. So far, we see the commander, Synak, is actually the only Polish player that is currently behind enemy lines, and I'm not sure how much he can do individually from that position. It does seem on the western side as a whole that the Polish have been able to actually push back that valiant effort of Baumex to actually push through that hedge line. You can see they are spreading out their front line a lot further down west, probably realizing and responding to the threat that the EG was forming. Apologies. But you do see a little sneaky Aspid, wow, that sounded wrong. Aspid. Aspid. A little solo squad leader being behind enemy lines, which again, as I've said before, it's an urban area, and just one squad leader could be enough to really become a thorn in the side if he can get his OP down, which I'm not sure he's doing right now. Actually, he has put his OP down, as we see a small spawn coming in. Numenzi. It doesn't look like much of a threat now, but oh boy, if that is a full squad of 6, it could actually... Ooh, it's very close to another OP from the Polish side. You can see Avocado actually spawning on that little OP, which means 2 of the OPs are very, very close. Avocado probably realizing there's people behind him, probably hopefully communicated to his team. Again, this might not seem like much, just maybe 1 squad leader and 2 of his fellow squad mates, but if EG plays this right, this might actually become a very big thorn in the side, as Louis is on the case, possibly realizing the threat this may be forming. You do see him scouting out a little bit, possibly wanting to get whatever spawn point they have there. It doesn't seem to be going just the right way yet. A lot of teams are tending to keep like a small squad back on the back line, just on scouting duty, just to see if there's any of these attempts by the enemy team to just get 1 or 2 squad leaders solo in and make sure they don't become a bigger threat in the future. Although Louis is going the wrong way right now, we haven't really seen any EG spawns on that OP that we mentioned earlier. So perhaps this little threat has been dealt with as we continue to see the Polish spreading out their western front, which I think is a very good call, especially if you see what EG was up to earlier. Spreading out is definitely the way to go there. If you just hunker down on your hard point, especially in an urban area like Sainte-Marie-de-Mont, is just asking for trouble in the long term. So good on the Polish to actually spread out here. You can see they're actually pushing up to the hedge line as well. Even though they are going to be confronted with a tank right now, which might spell trouble for this squad here of Carls. The tank doesn't seem to be aware, though, that the infantry is here. I hope one of them has an AT with them, as the tank seems to be smoking. I will admit the tank plays from both teams have been quite erratic since the start. I'm not sure if that is just cocky play or if that is an actual strategy, but I've seen tanks from both sides just riding into dangerous areas, showing their sides and their backs to potential danger from the enemy. And this is another example. I mean, sure, you're hard to hit as you're driving full speed, but you're still making yourself a juicy target for any of the Polish that are currently sitting with rockets into the hedge line. One of them could be Moonlight over there, and does actually fire a rocket, but just comes up short there. Vision, as the assault person, could actually have an satchel on him. Another rocket comes in, does hit him straight in the back, and you can see what I mean by this. Tanks just being erratic like this can cost them dearly, as you see the tank coming back to that little urban area that the EG group has still... That's a double up. That EG still has control over. As you can see, Vision trying to make a little bit of a flank on it. We do know that OP is close to that tank somewhere. Vision trying to make a play here. He is in the back line. The tank does seem... Oh, two people spot him. He must spot the OP right now. He sees it, and the OP is gone, in fact. He took out the squad leader as well, which means they're unable to respond. Oh, my lord. Vision, you are making a huge play there. The other OP is aside from the building, which he makes his way towards now. Vision taking out one. LOL is on the case, but Vision taking out LOL as well. He's going straight towards the OP, taking it down. No squad leaders of EG are currently present here. And Vision, together with a little bit of cover from Roger and Jeski, just takes down the urban foothold that the EG had here on his own. Yes, there is still a tank here, Bloody Johnny, but it takes rockets. Again, it has been vulnerable throughout the last few minutes. It is damaged, and right now, EG's foothold in Sainte Marie has just been taken out. Unless they have maybe some garrison further up back that I am not aware of. Vision with a beautiful solo play going all the way around the hedge lines to make its way into the back line, taking down two OPs and the squad leaders along with them. Jaski, Roger, Keski, and Wojtek, I'm sorry, are slowly treading now, making sure that they actually got them all, which they have, boys. Go take that spot on your own before... Oh, Kugu, actually, squad leader trying to make their way back into that urban area, but their presence has been utterly annihilated. Well played on the Polish side. It has been a thorn in their side for almost 15 to 20 minutes now, and they finally have caught themselves a little bit of a breath there. But a beautiful rocket does come in. It's actually two tanks now, two US tanks. You know, three actually, if you count the one in the urban area there. Three tanks pouring it down on the Polish. But there is rarely any Eastern infantry to support that. And the Polish have been quite good with their rockets so far, taking out a lot of armor in the process. Morisado, squad leader, trying to take back what is theirs as supported by his own tank, trying to get back his foothold. As you do see the Polish perhaps making a small little mistake there by not pouring into this little area that they had just reclaimed. I'm not sure if Morisado can do much on his own, however, as Smoya is actually going back into it, into the little building. Morisado takes him down. Oisibus going out there. Yes, Oisibus does take down Morisado. Didn't believe he had the time to put in another OP as a flare comes out, making sure, or at least getting an information on how many Polish there are currently in this area again. The tank is still there, and Roger Dodger is there with a beautiful rocket. Takes down the front tank. Now all the US has is these two tanks in the back that can still do a lot of damage on these infantrymen here. And they have all but secured this little area again for themselves. The Polish, that is. Because I'm not sure if a lonely sniper in Russian name Ksayap can do much on his own. No, Lucky One, which I believe is his spotter, does have the OP there, but Vision again with a play realized it is taking him down and is probably going to go for that OP. I'm not sure. Yeah, that OP must have been down by now. Well played by the Polish. I cannot stress enough what a wonderful move that was. And it shows that even in a 49 versus 49, single plays can matter a lot. And I will have to give it to his team as well, because, you know, he ran across, Vision that is, he ran across from the open field, almost next to a tank there, which means I can only attribute a lot of the covering fire to his team. You know, no soldier dies alone. But well played on Vision and the people that supported him for making that little play there in that urban area. It has thrown the match back into a little bit of a stalemate, I'm not gonna lie. As you can see, EG still has some presence there near that. There's an OP there right behind that hay stack from EG, but that is just one squad. And again, erratic tank play here. Oh, this is actually an allied tank, so they are definitely putting all of their armor-ass eggs in one basket, just trying to keep this open field. I can see already a few corpses from the tanks over there as well. They are not doing very well armor-wise. Again, their tank behavior has been erratic, and it has cost them a lot of materials in terms of pack. As we can see, this tank now burning as well. The rockets from the Polish have been on point, and I'm assuming the tanks have done their part on the Polish side as well. I'm not sure if that tank that was here earlier is still alive. Probably isn't. There has been a lot going on in this match, even though we can state that it is very much still... Oh, another beautiful rocket from Roger. My lord, that is quite a distance. Taking down yet another US tank. Oh, there is a lot going on, and despite the Polish still being mostly on the defensive in this match and having most to lose at this point, they have been showing themselves to be formidable opponents in terms of defending this point. And this is the point where Eastern Group has to start respecting the power of the Polish. Like, they cannot just erratically start driving their tanks in and out there. They cannot just keep, you know, trying the same strategies here, because the Polish have proven themselves to be very, very aware of what EG has been attempting at every corner. And aside from the initial skirmish down at Pierre's farm, they have been on the case in terms of facing what EG has to throw at them. We're just going to quickly take a look at the west side as we leave that urban area once again, looking to slowly go into... Actually, I'm going to stay here for a bit, because again, EG is taking control of this little urban area, which is seeming to be crucial to both teams' plans right now, as another flare comes over, trying to check out how many Easterlings have actually made their way up in here. They can probably see it is no more than 2. There is a tank there, though, trying to hold down the road as Lololol with his rockets is coming in. Another... Ooh, a tank does go down, which I believe is from the Polish side. It was covering that wall, and again, it should have possibly realized it didn't have a lot of infantry support there. And the tank down here is also showing its side to Lololol. Not sure if that is within his range. But Morris Sado, man, and his squad, they are not giving up on this little central area, and rightfully so. It has brought them nothing but goodwill during this match, so I can totally understand why they keep prioritizing this. What I do not understand is that the Polish have not taken more control of this area once they could have. I'm not sure if the Eastern tanks have just been pouring down on them too much that makes them unable to keep it. But the Polish must too realize how important this little area is. And seeing how relatively easily the Eastern Group has now taken back control of this again, despite the fight still going on, to be fair, I think the Polish should definitely prioritize this little area. As you can see, they are now using the distraction that the central team is now forming again to make another attempt at the cemetery, which seemingly is quite effective. Andrev there with his squad, together with Cloud Plant, spawning in the back area of that little hedgeway, but pouring into the cemetery now as well. We can see barely any Polish being present within the cemetery itself. But again, cemetery is an open place of itself, so it is hard to actually get people to stay there and get in there. You can see Funny Dead Guy going down. Clow is going down as well. Squad leaders are falling left and right. But yeah, it's a multi-front war right there, and cemetery is being pressured. The central area is being slowly taken by EG again. This has been a chess match, truly, as EG is slowly showing a little bit of dominance, perhaps, in terms of winning fights and getting the objectives that they intend to get. But the Polish, man, they have been resisting every corner of the way. And as I wanted to take a quick look at the west side, I think now's the right time to do it, as the Polish are pouring into the central area. Again, this is a back and forth, but we do need to give some credit to the west as well, as It is similar to what we looked at before, just a lonely little squad lead from the Eastern group in there, but the Polish have been expanding their territory in the Western side. It just doesn't seem like the Polish can really sort of amount to anything in that Western side. Like, they do have a lot of space there. Like, it's mostly open fields here. They should theoretically at least be able to make some more ground and not just be happy with holding off the Easterlings here. Like, they have some presence here. I'm counting, as far as I can see, 4 or 5 squads here. Most of them may be just single squad leaders, but they do have some space to get, right? They should be able to just make a combined effort here and be able to take some space, perhaps further down north, to be able to make their own Pierre's Farm attempt. If you look at that, just where, you know, Moonlight and Papastrol are right now, yes, they do have to cross a bit of open field here, but there is barely any of the Eastern group here. Like, there is a straight path nearly into Pierre's Farm, and I think, despite the Polish defending themselves valiantly, I think they're making it more difficult on themselves simply by not having 1 or 2 squads or half squads just pushing into the point. You know, even though open fields crossings are very likely to fill, at least it gives you some information, right? It gives you some intel on terms of how much they being the Eastern group has to defend. As you can see, there's a huge gap. Sure, you've got Hentai here with his squad and Capital here with his squad, like being a thorn in the side of the Polish. But as you can see, Papastrol has space. Jackie has space. And as if they are listening to me, you can slowly see a few of the Polish actually running up, trying to make some ground. But I do believe the Polish are playing maybe a little bit too defensively here. I can imagine, you know, the force of the Eastern group being very intimidating, and it can sort of influences the way that you play a lot. I've experienced this myself, like having a statistically stronger team that you're facing can make you a little more reluctant to actually make those plays. But I do respect Jackie and Rov here just making their way towards the hard point. Again, it's only Diosix and Baumix trying to hold the line there. Rov does go down, but I hope he knows at least have an indication of where he gets shot. Jackie now has made his way across, is facing Baum, XS, and Jackie. He does take him down, which does probably alert Diosix that something's going on there, but Jackie is going in on his own. Again, a single rifleman doesn't able to do much as he does go down, but perhaps this does give the EG a bit of an incentive to actually realize, oh my lord, the Polish are doing something here. Perhaps it is wise for us to actually have people, you know, covering this area, which in turn can take a bit away. Can take a bit away of the pressure that they're putting on Cemetery and the central urban side. And that's the power of it, right? Like, both teams, like, we can look above the battlefield here and see exactly what is going on, but both these teams have to rely on the things they see, the flares they have, and the things they communicate. So just having 1 or 2 people pushing into the enemy lines, maybe they die, maybe they can't really take anything of significance, but it might be enough to incentivize, in this case, the Eastern group to relocate some of their resources, because they don't know how many there are. For all they know, there can be 1 or 2 squads that are actually pushing into that point, which means they have to respond immediately. And just confusing your opponent by that is worth a few lives, to be honest. So well played on the Polish for at least attempting it. But it doesn't look like the pressure is going down onto the urban area of Sainte-Marie-de-Mont here. We are slowly ticking down the clock here as we have 41 minutes left. I do not wish to pressure the Polish too much, because I do not wish to take away from the game they've been showing so far. But if they want to win this match, I think they do have to start mounting some sort of an offense. They cannot continue regardless of how successful it has been from their side, they cannot continue to focus merely on the defense. And as I say that, we look towards the west, and we can see that perhaps the Polish veterans are starting to realize the time pressure they are under, as well as a few flares are coming out, and they are actually flanking on that western area. Look at that. They are actually stretching their front line way further west and even into enemy territory. As we can see, not too many squad leads currently there. I'm just going to keep an eye out for any spawn points the Polish currently have. But they are trying to make a bit of a play here, and I think that is the right call. Again, it's just a few members of the Polish team that is spreading it out, but it does inherently force the Eastern group to respond. As you can see, one of the tanks actually driving up, two of the tanks actually driving up to that general area. And I mean, if it takes like 4 or 5 infantrymen to lure 2 tanks out of hiding, that is a net win for, in this case, the Polish, because those 2 tanks are unable to fire down on whatever is going on in the east here. I mean, regardless of the game having been a stalemate for what is most of the time, this has been a very, very interesting chess match, back and forth. And I will say these teams are evenly matched, despite EG being in front this entire game after taking that initial point of Pierre's farm rather early in that initial skirmish. They have not really been able to push any further than that, aside from maybe getting a foothold a few times in that urban area in front of Sainte de Mont. They have not really been able to utilize that at all, which only, you know, shows how resilient the Polish veterans are and how, well, I guess how far they have come. They are not as an established team as the Eastern group is, but I mean, they are showing they are here to stay, and they're showing they're here to win it. As we can see, the commander Goblia actually spawning in some supplies. I'm pretty sure the Polish have seen that. Yes, he does put down a garrison. Again, this is a response directly towards the Polish presence here. And I was talking about it earlier already, that EG feels compelled now to actually spend some resources on defending this western side, because the Polish are making themselves seen. They are making themselves present, which does make the EG sweat a little bit on that eastern side of their Pierre's farm point. No matter how confident they were up to now that they, you know, had this in the back perhaps, they're not stupid. They're a experienced team. They know they have to respond to this at least in somewhat. And you can see further down now, Kugu, Smoker, Fumukes, and Last Bit, they are all responding to this threat, even though it is not perhaps as big as they anticipated it to be. And perhaps as a result, you can now see the Polish once again have taken control of that area, that central area that we have been fighting over for such a long time already. And this is exactly what makes Hell Let Loose competitive so interesting to watch. Like, we can see from the top view exactly what these teams may be thinking, what they are doing, what the consequences of actions are from both of these teams. And look at that. I mean, it might not look like much, but the Polish are actually pushing out a little bit, retaking control of that front hatch line that might give them a gateway into the point of Pierre's farm that they will have to capture before this timer runs out. Otherwise, no matter how valiant their efforts, they will have lost this game. And you can see they are not really taking any patience here, as Pachkai is moving up into the hedge line, immediately trying to make sure how many of the Eastern group is there. He does get taken down, but perhaps it does give him a little bit of information, because again, this little road leading up to Pierre's farm, it is all but undefended by the Eastern group here, so they have a hole into the Eastern group's defense. You can see Morisado is responding to this again. His mission seemingly is just to keep pushing this middle line, But he is being a little bit reluctant, as you can see. He is trying to intercept whatever the Polish are trying to do there. It has been a back and forth throughout. The cemetery has not been breached in all this time. It has just been one squad of the Polish and one squad seemingly of the Easterlings that have been fighting over the cemetery, but they just aren't able to get across. Probably also by support of some crossfire here from this area on both teams' sides. It has been a wonderfully action-packed match so far. Again, to the average viewer, maybe you are just looking at a screen and just looking at a bunch of blue dots and orange dots just shifting around this much. But I hope I've been able to at least convey some of the thinking and the movement and sort of the strategy that goes into a game like this. As we can look in the back line, EG has not been able to pull any kind of strategy in terms of getting solo squad mates in, but I do see a garrison being marked there. Perhaps Baumux and Hentai actually have been able to breach it a little bit. Is there in fact a garrison somewhere in this general area that EG is now able to spawn on? I am not sure. Let me check the hedges real quick to see if there's actually some presence here in terms of garrisons for the EG. I don't think there is, but we'll keep an eye on that for spawns for just a little bit. There is a bit of EG presence, but if you compare the presence merely to what the Polish are now doing in that western area, that northwestern area, they are making strides. Look at that. They are creeping closer and closer to that Pierre's farm, and I genuinely hope this is going to be a proper fight over that point within the last 30 minutes, because by Lord, the Polish deserve it. You can see spawns coming in there in that hedge line. They have made ground. They are not at all far away from Pierre's farm. All they gotta do is just, confuse EG long enough and hard enough to be able to actually get some people into those hedge lines, make the crossing towards the point. And as I've discussed earlier, the hardest part for the Polish is, I believe, to cross right now. Oh, did you see that? The point is flickering for a bit, but it's not Pierre's farm. It's actually Sainte de Mont. Let's quickly go back to that as we can, what we assume to be an eastern bombing run going into the town. I'm not sure how much damage it has done, but the point is actually going into favor of the eastern group, as they have finally managed to cross the cemetery with a few guys there. The Polish must understand that this is serious business now, as the central urban area and the cemetery now belong to most Easterlings right now. They are pushing in and they're trying to defend now. You can see LJT has got an OP on the bottom of your screen there in the bushes, but left and right Polish are falling. There is still some hardpoint defense, but the artillery is now pounding it, which I assume to be Eastern artillery pounding the point. Ooh, the Polish are rapidly losing their control of the northern side of Sainte-Marie-de-Mont. They are holding on, but I guess EG is not taking a 3-2 as a win, and they are pushing up further now than they have during this match before. They are crossing the cemetery. They are pushing up into the little urban area here, into the little street leading up to the church, which has not been in play so far. There is one squad still to the southern side of this whole thing, or rather the eastern side of this, and they are spawning heavy on that OP. It must be a garrison then, if the spawn is so heavy. Yes, they do have a garrison there in order to defend the cemetery, and the huge spawn wave did come in, but the point, it is flickering. It is static right now. No, it is not. The eastern group is actually pushing up the church here. You got Paquette who goes down, but Topaz is in that area as well. Oh, Eastern group is now being very, very aggressive in terms of pushing that central area, and with a lot of Polish are still pushing up to that western flank. Oh, they are being cut off from the natural front that they have. You can see Kugu Baimux, who just went down. Squad leaders are going to be trying to push in from the western side as well, putting even more pressure on Sainte-Marie-du-Mont. I'm sorry for my camera action. It doesn't really give a very good view. Let me try to get into a better position here to get a better overview of this EG push into Sainte-Marie-du-Mont. You can see it from this perspective now. They have gotten control of what is mostly the northwest area from Sainte-Marie-du-Mont. And even though on the western side there is, or the eastern side, there is still a lot of Polish presence trying to hold back this initial push, you can see that the EG has played this formidably. I'm not sure what happened on that western side, how the Polish actually got cut off there, but any attempt at an offense there is now lost, as perhaps EG actually got a good view on what the Polish were trying to do and used that to actually conclude that now a lot of Polish must be on that western side, which gives them ample of opportunity to actually push the main point. The Polish do seem to be responding to this very, very well, as they are spawning back on what I assume are their back garrisons or the backline garrisons, and they have managed to put yet another circle surrounding at least the church here on Sainte-Marie-du-Mont. But the threat is all but done as the point again starts going in favor of EG here. The cemetery squad seems to be lost. Remember there being a garrison there somewhere in the middle of your screen. That is now for sure gone, as EG is wasting no time pushing up to that hedge line to try and surround the church on all sides here, trying to take that eastern side of the church as well. I mean, the Polish do have a lot of manpower in this area, but it is mostly focused on the northwest here. The eastern side just has a few men defending it. They are squad leaders in Wojtek, Funny Dead, and LJT, but it is going to be, well, very difficult, as we can see a precision strike coming in. I'm not sure if that hit anything, but what a fight, what a fight. And EG, I have to give it to them. They read the situation as it was, and they, you know, took their advantage of it and now have a firm control of what they wanted for this entire time, which is a good, solid foundation to surround Sainte-Marie-du-Mont and mostly the church in the middle that holds this point together. Tank markers are coming out. It looks like the tanks of EG are being a little more careful this time around. Slowly driving up that street towards the church there. It's two of them, and they are slowly driving up towards the point. They are being flanked by both each other and some infantry there, but they are getting into a zone where it might get a little more dangerous for them. But then again, just the aggression, the sheer aggression that some of these tanks may just, you know, pose towards the Polish here might be enough to make it worth a possible sacrifice. There is a friendly tank from the Polish side actually defending that area, but it now has its back turned towards the enemy tank. It is straight zeroed in, but Wittgenstein is trying to place a satchel on it, fails and dies miserably. Immortus jumping out of that tank does take down any threats of infantry that are surrounding it, but Presidento might have a... as I say that, Presidento goes down. The tank still has its back to the enemy tank, but it is turning around slowly, trying to take care of the threat, possibly not realizing there's actually two tanks running up this alleyway. I'm losing sight of it, but oh, the explosion shows that the tank actually did went down, which gives the two eastern tanks a lot of room to now move as they both take a position surrounding that church. It is now almost halfway into eastern hands, but as we look at that, there were a few ticks actually coming in to Pierre's farm. I'm not sure how many Polish presence there actually is there. Let's just take a quick look. It doesn't look like the Polish have a lot going on there, but it had to be noted that the Polish were actually putting on some pressure on Pierre's farm, which may actually incentivize the Easterlings to take back a few men. But perhaps it is a little too late, and perhaps the Eastern Group is actually committing to this attack on the church now, as the two tanks continue to drive up into that center. The infantry support of the Easterlings is running thin though, and they are mostly on their own, just surrounding that church. There is another Polish tank there sneakily around that church that might cause a big thorn into the side of the Allied tanks here as it's slowly making its way around the church, trying to get a good shot on these tanks. The tanks are now going army of two, back to back, trying to secure most angles as they can. A shot comes in, but it misses, but it does give away the position of that German tank. Morisado is getting blown to bits right now. Oh, a good shot from the Polish tank, taking down one of the tanks, and the other tank is being marked by the Polish. As the other tank is driving up, it has its back turned, the Eastern tank that is. It can try and retreat, but I think that tank is done. There is no way they can easily get out of this situation, and there the two tanks of the Eastern group that were putting most pressure on this point are now gone. Infantry is running thin for the Eastern group, putting that pressure on as well. We can see there is still some presence there in the east side, but it is running thin. It looks like the Polish have defended very well, and as I say that, they might be on a good offense here as well, as Pierre's farm is ticking. Oh my lord, look at that. There is a Polish group, a blue dot group, taking that eastern side of Pierre's farm, and by simply being in that area, they have started to put pressure on it. I see a huge spawn wave coming from this grain field. It is a garrison flanked by a outpost. That means that in theory, the entire Polish team could now spawn on this eastern side of Pierre's farm. I'm not sure if EG is actually realizing how big of a threat this can be, as the pressure is continuing to be put on Pierre's farm. The ticks are going back into EG's favor, but I'm not sure how aware they are how many Polish are actually pouring into their point right now. A lot of them are crossing the open field, which is always a recipe for disaster, mind you, but they are making grounds, and the point goes back into the Polish favor here. We have got Baum X bushing here. I just see a spawn wave coming in from what I assume to be an OP here in this little bush somewhere. Let me quickly check that, if that is in fact an OP. I mean, if it was, it must have been taken out as Keshki takes out the last OT. I'm sorry for my camera movement. It takes a bit of getting used to after this long. I think if it wasn't gone now, Kashi is about to take that outpost, which takes away a lot of presence into the cemetery of Sainte-Marie-de-Mont. So not only are the Polish now trying to put more pressure on that. Oh, there was another OP in the grain field, but I'm pretty sure that Gojet actually got that OP down too. Not only, I was about to say, not only are the Polish now putting on pressure on Pierre's farm, they are also helping their defense by taking out these backline outposts east of Sainte-Marie-de-Mont. And as a response, you can see Morisado in the squad actually retreating because they know they are now cut off from the offense, which should in turn mean that now Sainte-Marie-de-Mont is pretty much uncontested. I'm going to go back real quick to see what the score is. My lord, what an action-packed game. And as you can see, there is not an Easterling in sight. Not in the cemetery, not in the position, the central urban area. The Polish have not only secured themselves a solid defense of Sainte-Marie-de-Mont, but they are now actively offending Pierre's farm, and they are the ones that are deciding the agenda now. I'm quickly going to check over on the west side real quick because I'm pretty far away, just to check what is going on in the backlines there. Oh, okay, so there is still some fighting going on in the western side of Sainte-Marie-de-Mont. It is actually still reasonably open for EG to put some pressure on. So we have got ourselves a bit of a two-front war here, for sure. Yeah, it's a two-front war. It just doesn't seem like there's a lot of actual pressure coming from the Eastern Group's side here. They are continuously being a thorn in the side, and you can see the Polish may actually be committing a little bit too much to actually pose this threat. Possibly, but nevertheless, the fighting is now all around Pierre's farm, which I did not expect, to be honest. With 21 minutes on the clock, it is definitely EG's game to lose here. As you can see, some Polish are taking up residence in that central area again. However, they are, Eastern Group that is, are trying to maintain that pressure on the cemetery, which is not going great for them based on this footage. But wow, I think it is very, very fair to say that these two teams have been very, very equally matched. I will say it may have taken the Polish some more time to actually get adjusted to perhaps fighting what in their mind was a bigger and better opponent. And it took them perhaps a little while to actually get adjusted to what EG was doing and trying. But it has been a quite the back and forth. And I think two teams have shown very much what they're made of in this game. So we take a quick check-in into that little garrison that the Polish had there just seconds ago. It has been removed, which means that the Polish pressure on Pierre's farm will have significantly dropped. Yeah, it seems like both teams have responded quite equally towards the threat that they were posing towards each other. And it looks like we're actually back to the sight we're seeing again, or that we're very used to right now, which is EG putting pressure on the Polish. I am terribly sorry about that. I am still recovering a little bit from the classic winter's cold that's been going around. I am genuinely surprised that was my first sneeze all game. Yeah. Wow, I am... this has been a nail-biter, for sure. Even though it has been going into Eastern Group's favor for most of the game, and you can definitely see the experience they bring into this game. I mean, the only thing I'm genuinely surprised by EG is their erratic tank behavior. Yes, they have been able to keep spawning tanks, so their resource management must be quite good. They have definitely... duoed up the tanks, so there's always at least 2 or 3 tanks in the general vicinity of each other to be able to keep each other cover. But on the other hand, they have been taking a lot of what I believe to be unnecessary rockets in the process, especially, Abupix and Roger Rogers rockets have been on point on the Polish side, and they have been taking a plenty of rockets as they are doing now. I'm not sure if this is an EG strategy, if this is like new meta that I'm not aware of, to just sort of take some more risk with your tanks in order to cause distraction or pressure. Perhaps it was a little different in my time, I'm not sure. But to my personal recollection, just driving tanks into unknown territory surrounded by enemy infantry wasn't necessarily always the best idea. But aside from that, EG has been definitely be able to put on a constant pressure on the points that mattered, the areas of terrain that mattered, and have been actually able to relatively quickly respond to the few Polish attempts at an offense that were there. On the other hand, the Polish have been able to consistently keep Sainte Marie from being taken. Yes, it was a little, close call there for a second a few minutes ago. But, again, they have been able to reassess, to reassert their resources, or rather redivide their resources into the places they were needed, and be able to kick EG out of any position that was important. So, yeah, the fact that this game may have been decided in the first 5 minutes is actually a testament to how well both teams have been playing. I mean, sure, there's still, more than a quarter of an hour still on the clock, so anything can still happen. It is hell let loose. But to be fair, it does look like there is, again, the bit of a stalemate that we've been seeing most of the game. And I would have been curious to see if the Polish would have been able to take Pierre's farm in those initial moments of the match, how this match would have turned out. I am genuinely curious about that. So I will give it up for both teams here. Like they have definitely given us a very, very action-filled, strategy-filled show in what it's like to be a competitive team, and then I think both of these teams are terrific, to be honest. Now, we can see the point of Sainte Marie du Mont is once again shifting into the direction of EG. And I'm gonna take a quick sip of water because before this really gets action packed. Give me a second. Oh, that was nice. Alright, here we go. The point is static right now, but EG has put some pressure on that point as they are once again taking control of that middle urban area and the cemetery. But as per usual, we can see the Polish definitely putting up a straight defense. They do have a garrison there, but it must be glowing red right now because EG is very close. If this garrison is taken down, they lose once again control of the eastern side of this point, as in the northern side of Sainte de Mont, there's more infantry riding into the point once again. I do not see the tanks anymore that we are so used to seeing from EG. They are currently relying on their infantry, but I have no doubt that there will be some tanks driving into the point real soon. A bombing run comes in. I'm assuming that's Polish, because it doesn't really seem to be aimed at any Polish personnel right now, unless they assumed they were in that little alleyway. But nevertheless, it might give actually the go-to for EG to actually continue pushing. Again, they have taken control of that cemetery, which gives them a lot of space on that eastern side of the point. But the Polish in good fashion are responding once again, trying to cut off the northern head there, trying to put pressure on that urban area again. That urban area has been absolutely the, most valuable point, if you will, in this match. But can the Eastern group actually put that eastern flank to their benefit as they are continuing to pour into it with few numbers, but effectively? I mean, the point has gone back into the Polish favor. It looks like their defense is just on point. Like, I'm not sure if this is something they got from experience or something that I've particularly focused on, but their movement of troops in a dire situation has been extraordinary. It looks like they've placed just the garrisons on the right place. They are responding on time, which makes me assume that their communication within the team has been on point throughout this match. Because look at the amount of Polish individuals that are currently being thrown at this flank, which tells me that they both know where they're coming from and also have a good sense of how many there are coming. So well played on the Polish side once again. They just give no quarter to the Eastern group in terms of taking this point. They are very well adept at this urban fighting that they have been doing so far. Great to see, great to see. As we check into the west once again, it looks like this was another joint offense by the Eastern group, as these people here too are pushing. We have seen Macbeth here and Capital Hentai on this area for most of the match, trying to make a dent, but again, the Polish are taking them down. And regardless of their chances of being able to win this match are definitely increasing as the clock is running down. I mean, I personally don't think this is something they should be ashamed of at all. I think, given the statistical differences between these teams, I think they are very much shown themselves to be a very decent opponent to the Eastern group. And they've told me that they might actually be promoted to the second division within the ECL currently. I think they are personally more than deserving of that spot, as we look at their performance now. I mean, sure, every team can take this as a learning experience, but I also believe that Eastern Group may take away a few lessons from this. Because had they perhaps organized their offense a little differently, and perhaps organized their especially armored units a little differently, they might have actually been able to take that point at least way sooner than they are currently trying. But at the end of the day, I'm not a professional player. I'm just a dumbass caster. I reason from the power of the analyzer here from the top of your screen. And of course, these teams cannot see what we see right now. And I am the last one who wants to tell teams what they should or should not do. But I hope definitely that both teams can look at this and be like, wow, we faced a a thorough opponent, and we've got some work to do perhaps going into whatever competitive tournaments they are going into. A bombing run comes in. I'm assuming this one is actually from the Eastern group, and the previous one was in fact from the Polish, which might open up the door from a push here. We can see definitely a push coming from the west as another tank is being supported here, and another one in the middle of your screen there. They are taking control of those fields as we've seen them do so many times before, and they are pushing in perhaps for a last-ditch attempt to take that church from the Polish veterans. Not as much presence on the eastern side as we are used to, but perhaps that was just a distraction for the more main frontal northwestern push. The tanks do need to start driving up to these alleyways now if they want to make a dent. We can see in the middle of your screen, Smoker's squad, Andrew's squad, Andreev's squad is actually trying to make a dent, trying to push up through these fields, trying to make life miserable for the Polish. But their defense have just been spot on. One could say perhaps a little too defensive, a little too passive, but they have been able to snuff out, again, most of these attacks with what I would say relative ease. They are just holding their lines, they are holding their corners, and they are snuffing out any EG members that are trying to make their way into this church area. I will say I think it's about time that we are able to call this match a little bit. I think the Eastern group are definitely on their way to winning this match with the 3-2, but you know what? It's a 3-2 for them. It's a 3-2 for them, and I cannot judge whether or not they were expecting that. I'm not sure if they were hoping for that. But yes, if they want to beat this Polish team with a decisive victory, then they definitely have a lot of work to do still. And the same goes for the Polish. I'm not sure if this is what they expected, if this is something they can be proud of. But they definitely also have some learnings to take from a match like this if they want to beat a team like Eastern Group. See some tank shells coming out still, trying to take care of this threat that they are forming. Some rockets coming out, trying to take care of this tank that is in fact, you know, moving up to the main road into the church area. We can see now on both roads, both to the left and the right of your screen, there is tanks rolling up. But the tank on the left is definitely going out of infantry range once again. It's retreating a little bit. It's definitely, you know, catching up with its infantry, but the infantry is just being shot down. I don't even know by whom or by where, but the tank pressure is just not enough for EG to make another dent into this point. As we take another look at the east side of the point, yes, they have firm control of Cemetery and its surrounding area, but they have hit the next best roadblock, which is that little eastern courtyard area. They are pouring in, but they are being met by a lot of Polish players there, and the Polish are just very quick to turn things into a stalemate. And that is a skill that is very valuable to have, regardless of not being able to put any offense back up on Pierre's farm, not even a last-ditch effort, perhaps. But they've been holding. They've been holding. And I think that has been the story of the match so far. I say so far, but that has been the story of the match, I would say, in general. Is the Polish having the Polish veterans having a lot of trouble maintaining or setting up like an offense, like a distinct offense on the Eastern group. But then again, the Eastern group has had a lot of trouble maintaining an offense on the Polish. They haven't been able to capture significant points, and they have been able to capture, you know, specific objectives that they set their mind to, but they have not been able to set a foothold in this dense urban area that is Sainte-Marie-de-Mont to actually use that to make a decisive attack on the point that the Polish veterans are defending. It's been good. it's been good. I think it's definitely both teams are starting to realize now that the situation that they're in. Although I think the eastern side of the eastern group is still trying very, very hard. But I think it is to no avail. I don't think they will be able to capture that hedge there. And even if they were, I don't think 5 minutes is enough to actually put pressure on that church. Yeah. Both these clans, man. I think both of them sort of have, like, historically, like, a motive to really create a strong, unified team for both of their nations, which is, you know, the Russian side of things for the Eastern group and the Polish side of things for the Polish veterans. And I think for both of these teams, it has really worked out. You know, the Eastern group has initially started out as being an alliance of Russian-speaking, and mostly Russians, but also some Russian internationally speaking people and clans that eventually evolved into being like a firm, distinct clan into the scene. Where the Polish veterans are currently still very much an alliance between 4 different clans that are trying to, you know, poke their head into the competitive scene. I think both of these teams have definitely achieved what they set out to do, which is to create a, say, national strong team and getting best of all the clans together to make an effective team. So yeah, congratulations to both these teams. I think this has been a terrific match. I hope it has been a terrific match for you to watch as well. As we do see a little bit of a sneaky push coming in here from the Eastern group. Aspid and his squad have still managed to get some back OP into the point. I do believe, I'm not sure what the last update was, if it's still 2 minutes or 3 minutes to capture a point. But yeah, it still gives them very little time to actually start capturing this point. So I don't think we'll be seeing a lot of action coming from this push. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing this match go on for another 30 minutes. I think a lot could still happen if we just allow these people to continue playing. Because by Lord, it has been a awesome match. Mostly centered around the defense of Sainte, Mont, which I started off by saying I hope we get to see some fighting on this point. I guess the both teams did not disappoint, as most of the fighting was surrounding this little, well, not little, but like this urban area that I always enjoy a lot of fighting in. The nooks and crannies of the urban area, as one would say. And it's been a great match. Absolutely. I definitely think, as I said before, that the Polish veterans would earn a spot in the 2nd division of the ECL. And I think, you know, the EGs are definitely a team that is continuing to be a threat to anyone who is also participating in the Hell Let Loose Competitive Association coming up, which EG will be a part of as well. I mean, the numbers don't lie, right? I mean, we're looking at the Eastern group here, you know, European Community League first season, 2nd place in 2nd division. We're looking at the European Community League 2nd season, 1st place in the 1st division. Like, they, you know, the numbers don't lie for them. Even in the Winter Invitation of the 18v18 tournament, they finished 5th, which is a brutal competitive scene, to be honest, and takes a whole new way of looking at the game. And even there, they managed to get high into the rankings. Yeah, these two teams are ready, man. I mean, obviously, they will have to take up some lessons. Hopefully, this footage will give them some lessons to learn. I hope to be aiding both of them in their respective journeys with this. If they ever want to cast another match between them, I will be happy to do that, because it's been an absolute baller of a match. I hope you guys, those 21 viewers that are currently still watching, are enjoying the show as well. Hope this has been interesting to you. I'm the type of streamer that doesn't necessarily zoom in on individual plays as much, unless I believe they are going to be significant to how the game is going to roll. So you'll see me hovering above the battlefield a lot. I hope this is a style that is interesting to you, because it is to me. Since Hell Let Loose is, at the end of the day, especially in those 49v49 formats, a team game in which both teams are trying to play around with positioning, placement, resource management in terms of both the actual resources as well as soldiers. And I think it's, for viewers, it's the most interesting way to get like a glimpse of what these competitive teams can pull off, and what we can, guess their communication must have been like, and what their plans must have been like. As the last 30 seconds of this match enter, we can still see 3 tanks driving up to this church, of which I assume would just be a big BM statement and just be like, hey, look at us, bro. We can do this. If we would have done this another 2 times, we would have had you, bro. Yep. Yeah, we can see the tanks driving in with no resistance whatsoever, just firing some victory shots, one might say. Another bombing run is coming in, and I think this is a beautiful sight to end the match on. It is going to be a 3-2 victory for the Eastern Group, for the Allies, as we take a quick look at the scoreboard for those who are interested to see some of the magnificent players that have played. I will continue to show this until it is gone. Yeah, it's been a pleasure casting this game. I would say despite the Eastern Group winning, I would say it's an undecisive victory. I would say I would think it's fair to call it an undecisive victory. Because I think the Polish had a lot of chances, and they definitely managed to, catch the Eastern Group off guard for a lot of time, a few times here and there. So yeah, I would say undecisive victory is fair to both teams. Congratulations, definitely, to the Eastern Group for racking in the win. And congratulations to the Polish veterans for this magnificent performance against a team that was, by all intents and purposes, statistically superior to them. I think they have a lot to be proud of, regardless of the score. Very good, very good. Well, I'm actually quite proud of myself a little bit, because it's been a while since I've been streaming. And yeah, I think it went alright. I think it was alright, didn't it? I think this stream, no technical difficulties as far as I can see. I do see in the chat that there's probably a little bit of a typo, that there is no such thing as an Eastern rule set. If that is the case, I apologize for sure. Mistlink, there's no ECL rules, but the seasonal rules. Right, okay. In that case, I was definitely referring to that in terms of what the teams were using, which meant that, the nodes could not be destroyed. There's just one guy on artillery, and the Panther tank on the German side is prohibited, which is the seasonal ECL rules for sure. Thank you, Saiku. Then I see Apisco, easy P4PV, easy 4PV, easy 4PV. Well, it wasn't as easy as you may suggest, but I think it was at the very least manageable for PV, the Polish veterans, as we have discussed at length during the match. Then there is somebody offering some promotion. Great brief before the match, very good cast overall, says Fast Choloplak, if I pronounce this correctly. Finally, somebody made a good use of the camera controls. I actually really appreciate that, thank you. Yeah, like I said at the end of the stream, I'm more of the type of person that wants to hover above and give viewers a perspective that they don't usually get. So those words mean a lot, Fast Choloplak, thank you very much. Then Siku gives it a +1. Again, thank you to you as well. Giorgio Perviani, one of the best casts I've watched. I am not... stop, you guys. Thank you very much. I try my best. I try my best to make every match very exciting for you guys. And again, with teams like PV and EG, it makes my work very, very easy. But thank you for those words regardless. I really, really appreciate your support. I am not a very great marketeer. Like and subscribe and follow and all of the things. I'm very bad at it. So you know what to do. You know what to do if you want to support me. And I'm not sure how consistent I'm going to be casting these matches. because it does take a lot of effort, but I would say I am currently personally in a space where I have a lot more room to actually be casting matches like this. So yeah, if you are a clan representative, if you know how to find me, feel free to actually find me and invite me to cast one of your matches. Just want to give a bit of quick shout out to both teams again. The Polish veterans, again Polish speaking, but they do accept, I think, international members as well. They are consistent of 4 different clans essentially. So if you are interested in joining those, Polish communities, then take a look at hll.pl. You can look at NZN, which is also a clan, PZJR, and the clan Wataha. Those are the 4 Polish clans that are forming the Polish veterans. So feel free to give them a look up. And if you are Polish speaking, go find them. And then our second team, our winners of tonight, the Eastern group. They are Russian and Russian speaking, so if you are not speaking Russian like me, then unfortunately it's going to be hard for you to join up on them. But if you are and you are looking to join a very strong Russian competitive scene, then take a look at the Discord link below and go find Magnet, who is one of the representatives of this clan. Very cool stuff, very awesome. Thank you to both of these teams for giving me the opportunity to cast this match. And to those still watching, thank you so much for joining me. You know what to do in order to support me. I'm gonna drink some more water, and I'm gonna say goodbye to all of you. I hope to be seeing you in a future stream. It has been a genuine pleasure. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.